Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Aaron, the Nerd Soup Monkey, joined today here with Beau Oliver.
Yo.
To discuss Ted Lasso Season 2.
Yeah, it might be all that you get.
That was beautiful.
If you skip that...
Dude, it was like, at the Emmys, that's all you fucking heard. Every time someone won, you just heard the, yeah!
Oh, nice.
The Emmy goes to Hannah Waddington for Ted Lasso.
Brett Goldstein, Ted Lasso. Jason Sudeikis, Ted Lasso.
I like that.
And I liked, yeah, that was the best part.
They were big winners at the Emmys.
Yeah, and rightfully so.
Right, yeah.
This is a show that we've both very much enjoyed since we started watching, and Season 2, I mean, just picked right up where Season 1 left off. Kind of kept the same vibe, same kind of feelings and emotions that the show had in Season 1, but kind of delved into some deeper themes here, and we really see that play out across a number of characters. And I tell you what, I think Season 2 was, I think I liked it more than Season 1, and that's saying something, because Season 1 was awesome, and the show is just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, the show starts off, it's a show that puts a smile on your face, wholesome content, characters that you love. It just makes you feel good to watch these characters, develop these relationships. And Season 2, we get more into, you know, the characters, their struggles, the things that they're holding back, their insecurities. You know, the introduction of Sharon Feldstein, the therapist, I thought she was kind of the standout of this season. She was the perfect way to further examine these characters, because it starts off, Ted Lasso, he's such an explosive personality. So you're starting at the volume is all the way up. And now in Season 2, the volume gets turned down a bit, and it becomes a bit more serious. The show's not only putting a smile on your face, it's putting a tear along with a smile, or sometimes it's making you frustrated by some of their actions, or sad, or angry. And they did a really good job of that. Normally, I don't like emotionally manipulative television, but I very much enjoyed it throughout Season 2.
Right, and I think with this show, as much as I enjoyed the wholesomeness and, like you said, eliciting a response of just joy from a viewer, to keep that can kind of not necessarily make it like not seem real or authentic, but, you know, at certain times, you need your characters to face some hardships and to kind of show why they are who they are, and kind of watch them battle with their past demons and kind of come out on top. And I think at the end of the day, that is more wholesome than just straight positivity, is seeing them battle through adversity and confront their own issues and end up, you know, it might be hard, but at the end of the day, they persevere, and they're strong enough to kind of confront those demons and come out of it a better person. And with Ted and Nate, really, and even Jamie, I think all the characters, and even Rebecca, I think all these characters dealt with very similar issues, but in their own ways, and kind of came at it on the other side very differently. Struggling with past issues, with I think most prominently father issues, or even dealing with their own kind of, in some aspects, toxic masculinity, and kind of overcoming that, whether it be you or society's view of you or a parental figure, and kind of having to deal with that. And with the inclusion of the therapist character, you really got an insight into some of these characters and let them put everything out on the table.
Definitely. And it certainly starts with Ted Lasso, a character who, obviously, he's not a mafia boss, but there's one quality that reminds me of Vito Corleone. Vito Corleone loved people. He loved being around them. He loved interacting with them. He loved doing things for them.
That's Season 3.
Maybe we'll see that.
Mafia sees the transformation he made to AFC Richmond and is like, we need a rebrand. Let's bring in Ted.
Grab Nate and be like, you broke my heart, Nato. But yeah, he spends so much time worrying about those around him, trying to bring this team together, trying to impress his boss. And it all does come from a genuine place. But you realize that a lot of that is because he's not dealing with his own personal issues. It's almost an escape, the whole Ted Lasso personality, even though that is truly who he is. Mm-hmm. Like in Season 1, when he has that outburst with Nate, and then he immediately apologizes. This is a man who it's not all sunflowers and rainbows in Ted Lasso's life. He's dealing with the divorce. He's dealing with this past trauma with his father that he's repressed for so many years, and it comes back up throughout this season. And he finally does embrace Feldstein, not only just as a colleague, but as a therapist, being initially skeptical. So I thought it was a very sympathetic portrayal of a character learning to deal with their own issues. And like you mentioned, a lot of these characters are dealing with similar problems. Characters like Roy and Keeley, they're a perfect match from the outside looking in. But every healthy relationship has its roadblocks and its stumbles, and these are two characters who are coming into different phases of their life, and very much Keeley is starting her life as a businesswoman, whereas Roy has to adjust to retirement. So even their arcs, I thought, were very well done. And I mostly enjoyed where all the characters ended up by the end of Season 2, except for Nate, but I guess we'll talk about that as the review goes on. And it's not that I just dislike Nate now because he's a villain, even though I do.
No, it's on site.
But yeah, I wonder if the writing wasn't so great for how he got to that point.
Right, you can see.
You wonder if the show feels like after they gave Rebecca not a redemption arc, but showing that she was an antagonist in Season 1, now she's a protagonist. Now the show is kind of missing a villain, and now they have it for Season 3. But we'll see how that works out.
It's tough because, like, I think on, like, the surface level, you can just be like, Nate, you're overreacting, because we know who Ted is. We know the type of person he is. We've seen the picture of Nate next to his son's picture. We know Ted cares for Nate. I saw I forgot who it was from, I'm sorry, but, like, it was a great parallel between how Ted treated Nate and how he treated potentially, like, his wife. It's like when you treat everybody like they're the most important person in the world, that can isolate somebody to make them feel less important. And I think with a character like Nate, always being stepped on, never really being assertive, being kind of an afterthought. You see the way Roy reacts to when Nate kisses Keeley. Nate's not a threat. How could this man possibly be a threat? And after years and years and years of that, and kind of finally getting some recognition, I can see why that might, and for certain personalities, have someone might have that reaction and kind of take control back of their life, but to such an extreme where you end up becoming an antagonist.
Right, and I think with Nate, it's, what Ted did for him, he does kind of become an afterthought because we stop the players from bullying you. You're now on the coaching staff. It's like you've succeeded, right? You've made Nate cool in the eyes of other people, but sometimes it doesn't just stop with that. Nate has a lot of insecurities. I butchered her name when I introduced her in the beginning, but Dr. Fieldstone, he needed a session with Dr. Fieldstone. I think it's a case of when someone is exposed to so much admiration and adoration from the public without dealing with their own insecurities, he struggles to kind of understand that and not to let it get to his head because it's something that he's never had. And he still has all these issues that he hasn't worked out. I just wonder if the writing could have been a bit better, because even when he does have that blow up with Ted, it's so easy for someone to pull him aside and be like, you're imagining all this. This is ridiculous. And I guess people can do that, like I said, when they have all these unresolved issues. But their relationship, to me, it was so wholesome in Season 1, and for it to end like this in Season 2, I'm obviously disappointed because I'm a fan of both of the characters. But I wonder if I'm being manipulated to hate Nate, and it's not necessarily deserved.
Right, it's tough. Like, obviously, I think me personally, I relate a lot to, like, just Ted and kind of how, a lot of his struggles and things like that. And I can see...
A little arrogant of you.
What?
Okay.
And I
thought you were going to say Nate.
No.
You're like, yeah, I relate to the most awesome character in the show, so I get it.
No, but like a lot of things he like...
I have a great mustache. I'm a great baker.
A lot of mustache like that, I would... Look out.
You can make biscuits?
No, but a lot of like his issues and things like that is something like I can, like with Ted's issues, I can see more and relate to and kind of be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, because I kind of can point to some things and be like, yeah, that's like realistic. Whereas Nate, I don't so much. So I don't know how it's portrayed. I don't know if it's portrayed bad or I just can't connect to anything with Nate.
Right.
So maybe it's a case of that. But like with Ted and with Nate, I think a lot of the overcompensation for characters, that's a recurring theme. Like even with Ted, he overcompensates, I think, a lot with his kindness and his personality to make up for the trauma he felt of maybe his father leaving, right?
And I knew right then and there that I was never going to let anybody get by me without understanding they might be hurting inside,
Yeah.
Always feeling like everything just being abandoned and being alone, and having that happen, he doesn't want that to happen again. So he turns it up a little bit. He's more nice, he's more personable, and tries to make everybody feel like he wishes his father made him feel, in a way that can end up alienating people like his wife and Nate. So I think it's kind of pretty amazing that they tie that all together in that way, especially for a 30-minute comedy. We're here talking about essentially a comedy show, one of the best in the past few years, and we haven't even talked about any of the comedic aspects. Rather, we're stuck on the themes, which I think is pretty brilliant, and the way comedy has kind of evolved throughout the years. I mean, even look at the parallels between Rebecca and Ted. And it's pretty evident there when they go back and forth when they're both talking about their fathers. So I think just the connections made and the deep dives into these characters really make it unique from most comedies.
Yeah, and the character of Dr. Fieldstone, I'll mention her once again. I was craving to get into one of those sessions just to see how she works. And when you get those moments with her and Ted, they are so emotional because the work that she is doing is so important for Ted's journey to not only get over these issues that he's having, but to be a better father, to be a better coach, just to be a better man. And from the outside looking in, you think, how can Ted be any better? But there's always room for improvement. And even a character like Fieldstone, at the beginning, they butt heads, they're at odds. She doesn't take to his personality, but that's kind of what she needed in her life as well, being able to open up with her vulnerabilities and her insecurities to, like I said, make her not only a better therapist, but just a better woman. So their relationship and the way that they capped off the relationship with Ted reading the letter, the goodbye that she would struggle with in person, and then Ted pulls that move on her, was so well directed to me. You just needed their facial reactions. And they became very close friends by the end of it. It wasn't just a therapist helping out a patient. It was friends helping out each other. And that's really kind of one of the main themes of the show, is the way that people can help each other and protect and nurture their relationships. And like you said, using comedy. I mean, the comedy wasn't sacrificed whatsoever. You want to delve into some darker, not darker, but delve into some deeper themes. Sometimes the show becomes less funny. I would argue that the show is just as funny as season 1, if not funnier, because the situational comedy is still so strong. The puns are strong. The comedic performances, especially by Brett Goldstein. Roy Kent is my favorite character. He's just so good. I mean, just the grunts and the reactions. His whole personality is so funny to me. Never gets old.
No, just everything from just his reactions, that look on his face when he comes in, he's like, "He talking about me?" Okay, cool.
Okay. Yeah. Boy.
He really is a great character, and
he may be their standout, like their Kramer or their Ron Swanson.
And that's such a surprise, I think, because season 1 obviously played a big part, but I think this season he really, really stood out. And he kind of replaced, I think a lot of characters sacrificed some screen time. I think Jamie, for instance, he was less prominent in this season, but that allowed to push forward characters like Roy and like Sam.
Yes,
and
definitely.
Right along with Rebecca, and her arc, Sam's been right there the whole time this season, and I think he had a tremendous arc as well.
Yeah, with Jamie, it's Rebecca has more screen time with Jamie, but it's similar where they were more antagonists in the first season, and now in season 2 they're good guys. And Jamie's transformation really is capped off by episode 3 when he stands in solidarity with Sam when they're protesting against Dubai Air. That was the moment that Jamie wins back the trust of his teammates. You know, he sheds the rock star narcissistic persona to become a team player. But also, Roy Kent and Jamie have some really important moments here where at first, when Roy is a reluctant coach on the team, he's still reluctant to even coach Jamie. But eventually he tells him, at times, you need to become that selfish player, so we're going to flip you off, and that's when you know to go Allen Iverson, just ISO and take over the game. So it becomes a formula that really works throughout the season. Obviously, we see them how successful they are, and they do win back promotion in the end, so they're going back to the Premier League in season 3. But Jamie Tartt's, even though we don't get a lot of him, especially in the second half of the season, I thought they wrapped it up rather quickly, but it was wrapped up nicely.
Yeah, I love Roy's reactions, too, when he knows, he can't be a dick. He's just like, fuck, and just runs off.
Fuck! Fuck!
Yeah. That happened twice with him and Jamie,
and
right?
It's so funny when he's like, how'd it go with Jamie? He's like, I forgave him. And he didn't forgive him. He just said fuck and walked away. And that's his version of forgiving.
Right.
Yeah, with Jamie, I don't think he really needed a lot. I think, like you said, it kind of wrapped up quickly and was back on our side. But then he kind of just, was in and out throughout the rest of the season. But like I said, it allowed more time for other characters to develop. And it is such a deep cast where, it does work. It is worth it to kind of maybe push some other characters into the forefront. What we got from other characters was such a crucial part of the season.
Right, and even though Jamie, they're not focusing him on as much as they did in season 1, some of those moments really hit, like when his father confronts him after the match with Manchester City, and he punches him, and the first person to come and embrace Jamie is Roy. where in the first season, you never would have thought that they would be hugging each other or celebrating a victory like they do at the end of this season. So those moments really did hit. And I think he works well as this character, too. He was a very fun and interesting, cocky bastard to root against in season 1, or you really wanted him to learn to embrace teamwork. And now he's this kind of affable dope in a way. And I like how he's kind of best friends with Danny Rojas. They're a fun duo.
Yes.
And also the bit to start off the season really started off strong, even though it starts with Danny killing a dog. But that whole thing was so funny. It was a great way to introduce Fieldstone to the team. But Danny Rojas in the shower had me hysterical, man.
Football is death.
He's washing the death off of him. Poor Earl Greyhound.
I think the funniest part was later in the season when he, in the finale, actually, when he's like, it's like, look at them out there. Look like a Renaissance painting depicting toxic masculinity. And they
so funny.
It was just perfect visual humor.
There's a shot out of Barry Lyndon. They do a good job of that, the visual humor. A lot of the gags, like I said, they never run that old. But yeah, no, you mentioned this too, that Sam Abisanya is a more prominent character in season 2. It's not only the stuff that he's dealing with, his own personal life, but the romantic relationship that he develops with Rebecca after they were talking on banter throughout the season. And all that stuff was very sweet. And it goes to show, Roy is the person in the beginning of the season who tells Rebecca, you deserve someone that makes you feel like you're $1 million bucks, And I think that's what she finds with Sam. So even though they don't end the season together, it is, to me, a relationship that I think worked for the most part.
Yeah, and obviously plenty of obstacles. And we've seen the relationship problems throughout the series too. I mean, with Roy and Keeley, both kind of, that realization is kind of heartbreaking for Roy because, he obviously loves Keeley, but him being kind of strong enough to kind of consider even just ending it just to better her for her sake, even if she necessarily doesn't want that, him knowing that's potentially the best thing for her is just, it really speaks to that character, and it's very heartbreaking. And even with Sam and Rebecca, just the situation they're in and how, the boss player dynamic, it obviously isn't ideal, and trying to wiggle through that. They both clearly care about each other, but they just know they can't make it work. Not yet, at least.
Right, and in the end, Sam does decide to stay. He spurns Edwin of Kufo, who doesn't take it so well. But yeah, I'm excited. I heard that the show may not run past 3 seasons.
Yes.
So I think giving this much focus to Sam, who was a character that I really enjoyed in season 1, was definitely worth it.
I mean, I tell you what, even though 12 episodes this season, they were able to get into a lot.
Yes, they did. And the runtimes got a bit longer, so it's starting to feel like an actual drama at times that you would see with 45-minute runtimes. But yeah, no, it feels like the season was even longer than 12 episodes.
Even talking about the beginning of the season, I'm like, that was this season still?
Yes, right. Season 1 and season 2 very much... they complement each other well. But apparently they extended the season by adding in 2 episodes when they had already wrapped, I'm pretty sure, which would be the Christmas party and also the episode with Beard's Night Out with Baz, Jeremy, and Paul on episode 9. What did you think about those 2 episodes? It does kind of feel like they take place outside of the continuity, yet they do not break the continuity. You could take those episodes out and still have a full season.
Right. Yeah, the Christmas episode it definitely felt like just like a Ted Lasso Christmas special in a lot of ways.
And I don't hate that.
No.
I think it's the type of show that can get away with that.
Right. And, it had a little bit of breaks from reality in terms of the Santa Claus and the kid looking up.
Love Santa. Love Santa references in adult shows.
And I did enjoy the Beard one. I think it was fun watching him dealing with, again, his own relationship issues and his own problems, and even with his I don't think him and Ted really, they never had a falling out, but you could tell there is some differences in approach with them. And him stepping away from that for an episode, getting to follow him. He just is I would like to just follow him around. He's an interesting man.
He's the most interesting man in the world.
You don't know what he does after work. So he goes, coaches soccer, grabs a beer with Ted. What does he do in the other? Well, no one knows.
He is that man.
Got a small taste.
There are people who know a lot who know a little about a lot, Beard gives me the impression that he knows a lot about a lot when he's able to fool the people at, what was the name of that exclusive club? Honey and Milk or something like that? That he was a professor at Oxford and he's got the Irish accent on.
Yeah.
Even when he tells one of them that he listens more than he talks. And you see that throughout the show, man. He's just always in the background, either with his head in the book or backing up Ted. He is, I think he's one of the funniest characters on the show. And the show does that so well, man. It's similar to Parks and Rec, where all these characters feel like their own characters. They're all so unique. They have their own personality traits and quirks. They play off of each other so well. So he's, one of the stronger additions to the cast. And I also want to shout out Juno Temple as Keely Jones. Keely Jones, to me, is one of the most delightful characters in comedy history. I just love her presence.
She does have a great presence.
Yeah. She's so fun-loving, so cheery, very smart character. Obviously, we see her going off on her own now, starting her own PR company. And the girl friendship that she has with Rebecca is so sweet. You love how those characters are always on the same page, always looking out for each other. Great understanding of who they are and what they want out of life. Two characters that can lean on each other. So, yeah, just wanted to shout out Juno Temple. And, of course, Hannah Waddingham being a Game of Thrones alum as Septa Nella. And everyone's always shocked to learn that. This is awesome. I love when an actor who, not the later stages of her career, but who has gone kind of under the radar and now is blowing up. It's always so cool to see. And she's a great talent.
Yeah.
This show has really kind of exposed some of these under-the-radar talents.
I think some of the best emotional scenes involved her. I think in season one when she opens up to Ted about how she was actively trying to sabotage him and the team, and then in this season when that might have been probably the best moment of the season was when they cut back and forth to her and Ted opening up about their past. And such wonderfully acted. Like you said, just a great character coming from where she was in season one and that development until now, where she's like, you don't just root for her, like she's at the top of your list.
Right. Yeah. So, and the relationship with Ted is obviously so important. The relationship between
they're gonna end up together. They gotta end up together.
Rebecca and Ted?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so. They're perfect.
No, I think Ted's gonna end up with Sassy. I think Ted and Rebecca. What are you trying to do to Sam? Let that man get his. What the hell?
No, I mean, sorry, Sam. But they've been leaning on each other these past 2 seasons.
Yeah, they're friends. Very platonic. Ted and Rebecca.
I think they work. I'm shipping.
It was funny when Ted mistakenly switched the salt for sugar, and Rebecca's like, "These are awful." It's like, wait a minute.
Even when that man fucks up, does something great.
One of the funniest bits this season is in the beginning when Roy was working for the sports network and he was giving his commentary, and he has that remark about Jamie dying of the disease of being an incurable little bitch. One of the most iconic screen caps from the show.
Jamie Tart is a muppet, and I hope he dies of the incurable condition of being a little bitch.
But Roy, even though obviously they get into the difficulties with his relationship with Keely and also the benefits of that relationship and how well they work together, all the funny stuff with Roy really works. His reluctance to be a coach, him working with Isaac, that was a great moment for both of those characters. And like I mentioned, his commentary on the sports network was very funny. And he just gives off the perfect impression of an old English footballer. Just the ultimate curmudgeon, but at the end of the day, a heart of gold, always there for Phoebe, and he's there for his teammates, screaming, "Whistle!
Whistle! Oi! I said whistle!"
Instead of actually just using a whistle. Like I said, he's the funniest character on the show for me. And it's cool how he was initially brought in as a writer. He's got a history writing comedy, and then he auditioned for the royal role, and they casted him, and it ended up being perfect casting, and people love how fucking animatronic he is at times.
Yeah, it wasn't a perfect casting. It was just a perfect AI built.
No, yeah, it was just the perfect construction in the background.
His comedy, his like reactions, him just being in a scene is just, I don't know.
I laugh just looking at him with those crazy eyebrows. They're not crazy. They're psychotic.
That was another great line.
Yeah, so, like, going into season 3, Nate being, I don't know if he's the main coach at West Ham. Obviously, we saw that Rupert buys the team. At the funeral, he talks to Nate a bit. But now, I don't know how much we're going to see of Nate. I don't know if they split up the show now where they're going to actually show how he coaches this team, and maybe the team doesn't take to his, tactics.
Well, I would assume so. I mean, Nate was such a prominent character. I think they will go back and forth. And you could tell in their practices, they're much more regimented than AFC's. Very hard and straightforward type environment there. It looks as if they're going to portray that team as like the real uptight type, unbeatable force that AFC is going to have to go in. The more loose and fun-loving Richmond, that type of dynamic.
That boy was nice too, man. Ted better find a replacement because he was coming up with all their game plans.
It almost didn't work.
A lot of their tactics.
Ted's the one who stuck with the false nine. Nate wanted to ditch.
He did. Well, that's that insecurity that I mentioned. That even though he wants the attention and he wants to be the boss, there is that insecurity there that's holding him back or pushing him in the wrong direction.
Needs some Just for Men.
Nate?
That guy went gray quick.
I think he rocks the gray well. And I wanted his story to end like Eric Spoelstra, the video coordinator who becomes a head coach, where at the end of wherever the show is going to end, Nate goes off and coaches his own team. Not like this. He's fucking Voldemort now in the Ted Lasso show.
Worse.
He may be more irredeemable than Voldemort.
I think so.
I would go a step further, maybe some real life figures, but I won't name drop any of them. But yeah, maybe he does have a change of heart and he comes back around. It will be interesting to see how they do adapt without Nate, because now that they're back in the Premier League, just for the drama of the show, just for the tension, you want to put them in contention. You want to make them have a successful season where it is a grudge match between AFC Richmond and West Ham in the end. That's just good television.
And they did get more rights from the Premier League.
Okay.
So they're going to be able to use more team, more footage. So that should make for a more... I think they did a good job of weaving through those restrictions. But I think with the ability to use some of these things, it might make it just a more complete show in terms of the football aspect.
Yeah, and I think they've always done a good job of that. It does feel like they could be an actual team, the way that the town all supports them. They all go to the same bar to watch all the games. Everybody knows each other. That's how it is with these Premier League teams. You're just born into it. It's in your blood. So it means so much to the town, and I think that's why Ted Lasso was kind of the perfect guy to take a team who's never won a championship, who's on the verge of relegation. They do get relegated. He was the perfect guy to build them back up. I think season 3, we may get back to more of the vibes of season 1. Of course, not all of their issues were resolved in season 2, but a lot of them were. So maybe a lot of the tension becomes more about what's happening on the field,
right?
And how they're trying to adjust post Nate and the pressures of that. So I think that could make for some good television if they are only going to go 3 seasons. Maybe they won't win the Premier League. That may be too quick of a turnaround. But hey. Why not, right? It's Ted Lasso.
They gotta
give us the happiest of happy endings. But season 2 for me, like I said, it was
Premier League, FA Cup, Champions League. They're gonna win it all.
NBA Finals. Ted Lasso to the Knicks. No, we don't need him. We got Tibbs.
That really should. They ended after 3. He should just go to different teams and just turn them around.
Yeah, the Sacramento Kings. They could use a Ted Lasso.
That's too ridiculous.
You don't think? You're like, let's keep expectations realistic here.
Yeah.
No one's turning around that team.
Maybe the Jets.
You'd like that, wouldn't you? You know who we totally forgot to mention? Higgins. I like Higgins.
Yeah, I do like Higgins too.
It's that's
very like
Ted Lasso of us to forget about Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
Man's always getting his office stolen. He's got a lot of funny reoccurring bits and one-liners as well. When he does the head nod and he's like, saw that in a Denzel movie.
Yeah, he has great references. Even when he says like a good mentor wants you to succeed, a great mentor knows you'll succeed, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
I see you, Higgins.
Keely, a good mentor hopes you will move on. A great mentor knows you will.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, just made it up.
Yeah, he's got some good ones. It's a small little subtle touch, but the change from Rebecca calling him Higgins in season 1 to now calling him Leslie. Someone who's worked for her for decades.
Stick with Higgins.
Higgins is fresh, but it goes to show that she doesn't just see him anymore as someone who works under her. That's a friend, and that's cool. It's very pleasant. It's just a very pleasant show to watch.
Definitely.
And if you don't like it, fuck you.
All right, guys, that's our Ted Lasso review. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and share if you did, and even if you didn't, I think if Ted Lasso's taught us anything is, you know, help people. Help us.
Help me. Right?
Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Beau says, you keep the lights on in the fridge so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our Patreon supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you could choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency, so thank you from my future self for making us rich.